I want to talk about something today that I usually don't talk about, but I feel it's something that definitely doesn't get talked about enough, and it's happening more and more and more. I feel it's something that so many people overlook, and I feel that we just need to stop overlooking it. And it's something that happens way more than even physical abuse does. And I'm talking about emotional abuse, emotional, mental abuse. And I can speak on this because I've been through it. I've gone through it personally. And I just want to go through some things that that happen when you're being emotionally abused. And it can be so easily overlooked because sometimes it just seems normal, especially when it seems mild. It can be mild cases, but even if it's mild cases, it can be very serious, and nobody should do that to anybody. The first thing I want to bring up, and trust me, there are definitely more signs than what I'm going to be bringing up. But the first thing I want to talk about is isolation. A lot of times we the person who is doing the abusing will isolate their significant other. They will isolate their partner. They will try to cut off those who are trying to help them. They will start planting wedges, placing wedges between them and their significant other, their partner, and the person or people who will try to help them, who will try to open their eyes, whether it be family, friends, co-workers, whoever it may be. And this can be extremely damaging to the person who is being abused, because when they start to drive a wedge, they start actually placing lies and speaking lies. There's a lot of lies that will be told, that will be spoken, and but they will make it to where that person, the one being abused, will the victim will believe it, because they will word it in such a way that with the mind games and stuff, that they will actually believe it, no matter how unbelievable it truly is. No matter how big the lie truly is, they will actually end up believing it. Even though they may question it in their own minds, they will actually end up falling for it, because the mind games are so great. They are so intense. No matter how mild the abuse may be. And another thing is rules. They will set rules. They will set boundaries. It could be as mild as, say, I'd like for you to call and or text at least 3-4 times a day, every day, to you don't go to sleep until I go to sleep. You go to sleep at this time. You wake up at this time. You don't eat until I have eaten. You don't go out at this time, and because of this reason, because I want to make sure you don't speak to this person or see this person, and so on and so forth. I mean, it can range greatly. And then the next one is, and I'm not going over these things greatly, because I think you get the ballpark. You're in the, I'm getting in the ballpark. You get the idea of what is going on, and I will try to touch on each one and kind of um, talk more about this stuff at the end. But the next thing is control. They would try to control you, control certain situations, and they would try to, like, for instance, um, they would try to take control. Like, if you go to try to make decisions or try to um, make a decision for the family, or make a decision for you as a couple, and decide to do this and make tell everybody, this decision and stuff, they might get upset, and because they want to be the one to make the decisions, they want to be the one in control, and they will not allow you to have control. They might even tell you, go as far as telling you what to wear, when to wear, how to wear it. Whether it's your hair, your clothes, when it comes to the women or girls, the makeup, and stuff like that, jewelry, stuff like that, controlling, maybe even, and this can fall under rules too, jobs and your hours when you work and stuff like that in more severe cases. And then the next thing is guilt, shaming, and deflecting. They were trying to make you feel guilty for things you say, and shaming you for it, and deflecting. Like, for instance, tell you, like, okay, with the physical stuff, they will sit there and say, now, I don't know why you did that. You know what sets me off. Doing that or saying that just makes me extremely angry, and you know how I react to it, so I don't know why you did it. The same thing goes on with emotional and mental abuse. They will sit there and they will place the blame on the victim and tell them that it's their fault. They would say things like, that would have set me off. That sets me off every time. I would have gotten mad. How I would have reacted. Why you said that, why you did that, I don't know. You're the one that's to blame. You weren't the one that did it. It can get pretty bad. It can get really bad, and it turns around. It can make the victim feel extremely guilty for what happened, even though it wasn't even their fault. And the next thing is checking or checking on you, or keeping tabs on you. They can either, whether it's checking your phone, checking your social media, texting you constantly, and it can even seem like that it's because they love you and they're trying to keep the relationship going, and being so sweet. But I mean, like, I just wanted to see how you were doing and what was up, what you were doing, and stuff like that. But in reality, actually what they're doing is trying to keep tabs on you, trying to find out where you're at, what you're doing, and trying to control things in that way. And if they feel like you're getting out of hand and you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, that they feel like you shouldn't be doing, then they will tell you about it. And the next thing is gaslighting. And if you don't know what gaslighting is where they will they will say something that is cruel, or that was incredibly mean, that was even a bull-faced lie, and they knew it, and you bring it to their attention, you call them out on it, they will flip it around and say that they didn't say that, they didn't do that, and they will make you feel like you're crazy. They will make you start doubting yourself, start doubting your sanity. And it can get really, really bad. Um, Now, there are so many other things, so many more things that go on. Those are just very, very few things that go on. And just because you might think, well, I've only noticed one or two things here, that's all it takes. That is all it takes for it to be emotional abuse. That's all it takes to be mental abuse. That's all it takes. And overall, it's mind control. It's mind control. And even there's even, when maybe if you're out at a restaurant and stuff, even if you're out at a restaurant and it may seem like they're being, it's chivalry, and they're being so sweet and so kind, and they're trying to do the ordering for you, or they're just being so sweet and so kind, and trying to be one step ahead and stuff, but in all actuality, it's actually them trying to control things. So you just need to be really, really careful. And if you yourself are in that kind of relationship, and it doesn't even have to be like a marriage or a dating kind of relationship. It can also be a relationship, as in like a family type of relationship. I mean, definitely try to get out of it. Definitely, because it's not worth it. It is breaking you down. It is not worth it. And I can speak on this personally, as I said before, because I have been there, done that. I've been in multiple relationships that were like that, and the only thing it did was it broke me down, and it tore me up, and it did a number on the inside, and it made me feel like I was worthless, and I could not stand on my own, and I was not strong. It just completely tears you down and breaks you down. It is not worth it. It really isn't. And I'm not saying you can't love that person. Of course you can love that person. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It really isn't. They would take away your self dignity. They would take away your self respect. They will break you down, and it really just is not worth it. And if you know somebody who is in this kind of relationship with, which most likely with as much of it that goes around, either you yourself are in it or you know someone who's in it, please try your best to try to either yourself get out of it or try to get them out of it. Try your best. And I have know from experience, personal experience, that the division with family and loved ones and friends and coworkers and so on and so forth, the isolation part is so difficult. It is so difficult, whether you're actually in the relationship or you're on the flip side. It is so difficult. It truly, truly is, because it makes you feel like you're alone. It does isolate you. And even being on the flip side and not being in a relationship, it does, it isolates that person. It makes them feel like they can't do anything, that they feel that being pushed away. And it ends up hurting that person more than the person actually in the relationship. And this just needs to be brought out. It needs to be talked about more. And it's not talked about near enough. It really isn't. So please, as I said before, if you see someone who's in this relationship, or you are yourself, please do something, say something. Don't just sit back and do nothing. Because the more you sit back and do nothing, or say nothing, the worse it's going to get. The deeper it's going to get, and they're going to go. And it's even worse when that person who's doing the abuse, the abuser, is a narcissist. And the biggest majority of the time, that's exactly what they are. They're a narcissist. So I'm going to end this video here. I'm not going to speak a whole lot, go in great detail. I can only give my experience, my personal experience with this stuff. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. But I just felt this definitely needed spoke about. Thanks so much for taking the time out to watch me and to listen to this very, very, very important message. As always, pray about everything. Much love. God bless.